There is a strip of water, 34 kilometers wide at its narrowest point, that you've probably never thought about. But right now, because it's closed, oil prices are spiking past $126 a barrel. Food is running out in the Gulf, factories in Europe are shutting down, and the entire global economy is teetering on the edge. This is the Strait of Hormuz, and this is everything you need to know about it. Today, we're doing something different. Forget the politics for a second. We're going deep on the geography, the economics, the history, and exactly why closing this one narrow waterway is being called the greatest energy crisis in history. By the end of this video, you'll understand why every country on Earth, from Africa to Asia to Europe, has a reason to panic right now.
Of course, those fuel prices you guys have been talking about, what you're seeing here behind me, the most immediate impact, but they will start rippling into other things like the cost.
Pull up a map of the Middle East. Find Iran. Find Oman. The Strait of Hormuz is the tiny gap between them, the only maritime exit from the Persian Gulf to the open ocean. It's 34 kilometers wide at its narrowest. Inside that gap, there are two shipping lanes, each just 3.2 kilometers wide, one going in, one going out. That's it. That's the corridor through which 20 million barrels of oil per day normally flow, every single day. To put that in perspective, that's roughly 1/5 of all the oil the entire world uses, every day, moving through a channel barely wider than a city. Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Qatar, UAE, Bahrain, every single one of these massive oil producers has one exit, this one. There is no shortcut, there is no back door. Saudi Arabia has a pipeline, the East-West pipeline, that can route about 1.5 million barrels a day overland. Abu Dhabi has another bypass route. Combined, that handles maybe 2 million barrels a day total. The strait normally handles 20 million. Do the math. On February 28, 2026, the US and Israel struck Iran. Within hours, Iran's Revolutionary Guard announced the strait was closed. Any vessel attempting to transit would be targeted. But here's something important. You don't need to physically sink ships to close a strait. You just need to make it too dangerous to use. When Iran started attacking merchant vessels, 21 confirmed attacks by March 12th, insurance companies responded immediately. War risk premiums for ships transiting the strait exploded. Companies like Maersk and Hapag-Lloyd suspended all Middle East routes entirely. No insurance? No ship captain will sail. No ship? No oil. This is what experts call a soft closure. Iran doesn't need to physically blockade every ship. It just needs to make the risk high enough that the market does the blockading for them. And it worked. By March 4th, the strait was effectively dead. Over 3,000 vessels are now stranded in the Persian Gulf. The IEA called it unprecedented. Iraq shut down its Rumaila oil field. Kuwait declared force majeure. Qatar's LNG exports froze. One by one, the Gulf's engines just stopped. Let's talk numbers. Because this is the part that hits everyone, whether you drive a car, buy groceries, or just exist in the modern economy. Before the war, Brent crude was trading around $75 a barrel. Within days of the closure, it crossed $100. By its peak, it hit $126. The Dallas Federal Reserve modeled that if the strait stays closed for 3 quarters, 9 months, oil could hit $132 a barrel and global GDP growth could fall by 1.3 percentage points. But here's what most people miss. This isn't just about petrol prices. The Strait of Hormuz is also the world's main highway for liquefied natural gas. 30% of global LNG trade. Europe gets 14% of its LNG from Qatar through this strait. With European gas storage already at just 30% capacity after a brutal 2025-26 winter, Dutch gas prices nearly doubled to over 60 euros per megawatt hour. The European Central Bank paused its rate cuts. UK inflation is expected to breach 5%. Chemical and steel manufacturers across the EU are slapping on 30% surcharges. This isn't hypothetical. It's happening right now. Not all countries feel this equally. Let's go around the world and break down who's really suffering. Japan, 70% of oil from Gulf. South Korea, 2.7% GDP exposure. India, 60% of oil from Middle East. Pakistan, near zero storage flexibility. China, 40% oil via Hormuz, but reserves. Germany, industrial surcharges, 30% plus. Saudi Arabia, producer, rerouting via Yanbu. USA, energy independent, but inflation risk.
Well, and many of the effects of this Iran war are being felt.
And here's the one nobody's talking about enough. Fertilizer. 1/3 of global fertilizer trade transits the Strait. Urea prices have already jumped from $475 to $680 per metric ton. Spring planting season is right now. If this continues, developing nations could see a 50% reduction in harvest yields this year. That's not an energy crisis. That's a food crisis.
Before the planting season begins. As the Iran war rages on in the Middle East, it's causing prices on gas and other important goods to rise. Teresa Sissing of the Michigan Farm Bureau says that includes fertilizer. While American farmers don't get it as much from the Middle East, the global market is reacting.
Iran has threatened to close the Strait of Hormuz many times, but they've never fully done it, until now. Here's why this moment is historically unprecedented. Previous oil supply shocks. The 1973 Yom Kippur War, the 1979 Iranian Revolution, the 1980 Iran-Iraq War, the 1990 Gulf War. Each of these disrupted global oil markets and caused recessions. But in all those cases, the strait itself stayed open. Ships kept moving. What makes 2026 different is total scale. The largest oil supply disruption in the history of the global oil market. The IEA called it, and I quote, "the greatest global energy and food security challenge in history." Not in recent decades, in history. Why is the scale so extreme? The world now consumes far more oil than in 1973. Gulf producers have far more market share, and alternative routes have barely kept pace with demand growth. We built a global economy around this 34-kilometer gap and hoped no one would ever actually close it. So where does this end? There are 3 scenarios being modeled right now by every government and trading desk on the planet. Scenario 1, quick resolution by end of April. Oil prices ease back toward $90.95. Some permanent risk premium remains. Economies bruised but not broken. Scenario 2, mid-year closure through June. Oil hits $1.32 plus. Multiple emerging market economies enter recession. Food inflation becomes acute. Some countries experience genuine shortages. Scenario 3, year-end closure. GDP growth falls 1.3% globally. Supply chains unwind. The 2026 recession becomes the story of the decade. The US military began a campaign to force the strait open on March 19th. Trump issued deadlines. Iran denied negotiations. As of today, the IRGC is still turning away ships. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Even if the strait reopens tomorrow, the damage is already partly done. Kuwait has shut its oil wells. It takes 3 to 4 months to return to full production. Qatar Energy has declared force majeure. Supply chain backlogs take weeks to clear. The last ship that got through the strait before the closure is still at sea. It won't reach port for another month. The world built its entire energy architecture around the assumption that this 34-kilometer gap would always be open. That assumption just broke.